So somebody made a comment and they said that Abby, your sister Abby, was scary looking. And the comment came in on the Best Buddies video where she went out to ice cream with the girls. And the commenter went on further to say that she was concerned about the effect, the negative effect that Abby's appearance would have on those young girls.
Well,
Now,
she's making a lot of assertions, that's for sure.
well, boy, that's just an understatement. But I went back and I assured her that, because you never know, I don't have any problem if it's a young person who's curious, or if it's a first time, somebody's just commenting their thoughts that are randomly going through their head or whatever. I mean, I understand that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just kind of assured her that Abby's friends were not negatively affected by her appearance in any way, shape, or form. So then she came back and the commenter came back and called me a pearl clutcher, that I'm a pearl clutcher with a messiah complex. She really, really felt that our daughter, who has a disability, should be kept aside and away from the general population because her appearance is such that other people might be negatively affected. Now, I don't know, David, it kind of got me a little hot under the collar. What is your take on that?
Well, I don't agree with the commenter, of course, but we shouldn't perpetuate that kind of mentality that we should keep certain people away from, society because they have a certain appearance or something like that. That's what we shouldn't be doing, in 2020.
Boy, that's pretty profound. You would think that's like an attitude straight out of the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
You know what my concern is? When I find out that the person is old enough to know better, is well educated, okay? And my concern is what happens when that person with that attitude is sitting on the other side of the desk when you go in for a job interview.
Mm-hmm. Well, she wouldn't be able to say.
Well, she wouldn't be able to say it, but what if she didn't give you a job based on her attitudes and opinions that, oh, God forbid, your appearance might have a negative effect on the general population?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's a thing. I'm sure people do that.
Well, do you think it might be a thing? Because 80% or more of people with disabilities, even people like you who are college educated, and when you finally do graduate and have a degree, even people with degrees are either unemployed or underemployed if they happen to be living with a disability.
Yeah.
That's concerning.
Yeah, definitely.
So what are we going to do about that, David?
I don't know. There's really anything you can do. I think it's up to the person with the disability, like me. I have to be the one to kind of show that I can do the work and stuff like that. And then it's also up to people in society to kind of give people with disabilities a chance, and they might just be surprised,
Well, they usually are surprised once they do take a chance. You may not remember this, but you know what happened? One time, I've talked about this before, and I haven't said where this came from, but I think I might go ahead and share that at this point. Not to embarrass anybody, but just to kind of bring out, my point a little bit better, because I think this is going to surprise some people. But when Abby was really little, when she first joined the family, we had a very similar situation, and it happened at children's church. Abby and Jesse were in the children's church, and the leader of the program came to us and said, "We're going to ask you to not bring Abby in here anymore because one of the other children is scared to death of her and is having nightmares." because of how Abby looked.
Mm-hmm.
And we,
Does
like,
she look that monsterish?
oh my gosh, no, David. I mean, she
Yeah,
doesn't
I
look like a
know.
typical, I mean, her eyes do look odd,
Mm-hmm.
but she's blind.
Yep.
And she has a genetic condition. I could just cry thinking about this right now. It makes me so angry because today I would handle it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Dad and I complied because we're not the kind of people that really like to, raise a stink about things. And, I mean, it was our church, for goodness sake,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we did it. And fortunately, we had a friend who's a special ed teacher. She took the girls separately and did things with them so that, Dad and I could be in the church together. And the thing is that today I wouldn't do it that way.
Yeah.
What we should have done is that the leader of the program should have stood up and said, absolutely not. What we need to do is we need to have the parents talk. We need to try to, talk to the other child and teach her a little something about people with disabilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
To not be afraid. I mean, there's, people with their appearances. Now, we saw Chris on SBSK. He had interviewed a burn survivor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he calls himself a burn survivor. And apparently he put it up on Facebook, and within moments there was a graphic image warning posted across that man's face on Facebook.
Mm. I guess Facebook was just like thought that was more like too graphic, I guess, for some people to handle or something.
But that's his appearance.
Yeah,
And
it's
in
not like
my
he can do
opinion, I
anything.
mean I mean he didn't look bad at all to me. I thought it was miraculous that he, had survived and looked as good as he did. Frankly, I just think that's pathetic what they did.
Mm-hmm.
It's more than pathetic. It's a, I don't know, it seems like I can't say it either, David. I mean, it goes so deep and it's so bad. I saw a story on Oprah about a girl, beautiful, beautiful girl, and she was in a car accident. Same thing. She was burned over 90% of her body, and it completely and totally changed her appearance. And she's thankful and happy to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, she is treated completely differently because her appearance changed
Yeah.
through no fault of her own. A shame on us as a society. Let's move past this. Let's understand that humans are humans. They have a right, you guys have a right, certainly, to live your lives and be free in society like everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought that was interesting. And when I brought it up to the girls, and I asked the girls how, if there was any validity to that at all, and I tell you what, they were angry because the person projected their attitudes and opinions on to these girls, the only two people who've really befriended Abby to that degree.
Mm-hmm.
And they just see Abby as Abby. She's just another typical teenager to them. She's a lot of fun to be around. They enjoy her company. And they were actually appalled at that. So I suppose we'll be hearing from our viewers in the comments below. Let us know, how you feel and what we together as a community are going to do to overcome some of these attitudes and opinions that are prevalent in our society today.
Yep.
It's pretty deep stuff, guys.
Can't wait to see what, like, if there's opposing views or something, because that's kind of I like talking about this kind of stuff.
You do love a good debate, don't you?
Yeah.
So are you going to go into the comments on this one and talk to some folks?
I might.
That'd be great, David. We'd love to see you there.
Okay, so, I've been going through this with Hannah and her eye patch and her eye treatment. And, she's been making pirate sounds because she's got, has had a patch on at night. And I just was thinking today about why the pirates of old, at least the pirates in Treasure Island are the ones we think of. You look at a pirate, and the pirate has a peg leg, right? A hook arm, and an eye patch.
Never thought of that.
Why? The reason why is, and this is interesting because technology at that time was created, they created prosthetics to be able to improve someone's ability. So the technology for a leg gave the pirate a way to walk that he didn't have. The arm and the hook gave him a way to grab things and to use as a limb. But why did they just put a patch on the eye? Because technology could not bring ability to the eye. So they just covered it with a patch, right? So when Hannah was very, very young, 2 years old, we brought her to a specialist. Now, Hannah was born without eyes. It's a very rare condition. Her sockets are actually empty. And you've seen pictures of her with her little eyelid issue that she has right now. But a question has come up, and I think it's an interesting one. All 6 of our kids are completely blind, and yet none of them have prosthetic eyes. Not a one. Why is that? It's a good question, right? When Hannah was probably 2 years old, we took her to one of the premier eye institutes in the country, and we had them do a full workup. We didn't know what to do. And we went in to the pediatric ophthalmologist, who, there were many of them who wanted to see Hannah because they had never seen a child without eyes before. And the first, I remember the doctor that came in the first time, they looked at Hannah and they said, "What would you like for us to do?" They knew that Hannah didn't have eyes at all, and that they're a vision doctor. They're trying to give people sight. In other words, improve the ability of someone to see. But when that ability is not there and can't be accomplished by technology, they asked us, what would you like to do for her? What can we do for you? Now, they did discuss
what they could do for us as opposed to what they could do for her.
What they could do for us, exactly. How could they help us as parents, right? And our view was, well, we don't want help for ourselves, we want help for our daughter. But they weren't in any way going to be able to make her see, which would have been bringing technology to her ability.
I think we actually thought that might be a possibility when we first entered into this
world.
Yeah.
It could be.
Well, we certainly had to make sure that it wasn't.
They did say to us that there are prosthetics and there are ocular implants and there are shells and conformers and other kind of prosthetics that can be used in place of the eye, but they don't provide vision.
To provide a more normal appearance.
To provide a more normal appearance.
For everyone else.
For everyone else. So that, why? They mentioned to us that it's possible that Hannah's orbits could collapse or that her facial structure could collapse.
They told us that her forehead would collapse.
Her forehead would collapse.
Mm-hmm.
But that since she was already past babyhood or whatever, that they wanted to wait or would wait until she was in puberty or beyond to see if and when that ever happened. But we've now come to understand that the reason why, in fact, I'm not sure I've ever seen, of all the bilateral anathomy, all the kids with no eyes that we've seen, and there have been hundreds of them that we've seen.
Say bilateral anathalmia.
Bilateral anathalmia, PHTHALMIA. There's never been a single case that I've seen, I'm not a doctor, I don't know everyone, but that skull has actually collapsed.
No.
But I've realized that one of the reasons why that is a diagnosis is that in order to make it medically necessary so that it could be covered by insurance. Now, the doctors or the ocularists that do this, some of them, I'm not sure they're even doctors, most of them, they're artists. And they can create, they're like opticians. They're like people who create a product, which is an ocular implant. And so that product is being marketed to people that have no eyes, so that, not so that a child can see, or not so that an adult can see, but that they can look
and
conform acceptably to norms, whatever those norms. And in fact, those are ableistic norms, right? Those are ableist norms. But the reality is that, and it's interesting because, Karen, you, Mom, owned a doll store for many years, and you've seen your share of fake eyes.
Yes.
You used to make eyes.
That looked very realistic, actually.
Exactly. You used to make dolls with realistic eyes. But they didn't see.
No.
They were just fake eyes. We want to take and we've always taken a very conservative approach to medical treatment to our kids. We don't know, our kids were born blind, so we don't know what their conditions were, genetic conditions, what they might have, and you don't know what other impacts or genetics they can have as a result of surgery or what other kinds of things. But we hesitant to put our kids under anesthesia. We don't necessarily want them under a knife. And one of the things that I've found in some of the career work that I've done over the years with healthcare providers and insurance companies and things like that is that there's a fair percentage of morbidity, which is the percentage of people that go into a procedure, into the hospital or whatever, and actually there's a rate, sometimes it's 30 or 40% morbidity, which means that the conditions they come out of the hospital, which could be complications from what they went in for. In other words, they come out with conditions they didn't go in for because they've subjected themselves to a medical procedure.
If something were medically necessary, we wouldn't hesitate.
Absolutely. Or if it addressed an ability or an adaptive problem.
If they could be made to see, we would be the first ones in line.
Or even give them light perception. If there was
Anything.
any improvement at all, then we would be there making that, taking the risks and doing that. But we've chosen not to do that.
We never saw the point, really.
We never saw the point. Our kids, we also have seen that with prosthetic eyes, in particular with young kids who have a tendency, and if they're autistic or have stimulus issues or intellectually disabled, they like to take them out and play with them and do all kinds of stuff. That there's and they don't fit, and they
there
roll
are
on
also
the floor.
multiple surgeries involved.
Multiple surgeries
with fitting, as the child grows and as the orbit, needs to be expanded
to make a place for this, for this, prosthetic eye. That we're putting technology, in medical technology, into a cavity, into an eye, for example, sticking a foreign object in there, and that child may or may not be able, and will never see.
Right. It's just a fact.
Just a fact of the matter. And the eyes, typically, they don't actually function like real eyes. I mean, some of them look pretty good, and if somebody has one eye, for example, if you have one good eye and you want to match that other eye, and you live in a sighted world and you want that as a
completely different story.
Completely different story.
And we don't have any problem, even for the kids who do and the families who do choose that. We don't have any problem. I mean, to each his own, right?
Right.
That's a personal decision that every individual and every family has to make for themselves.
But going back to the original commenter, who would say that someone looks scary, whether or not they have a healthy or typical look,
Like, what is that?
is really beyond
It's
acceptance.
shocking. It's shocking that someone would say something like that.
We've had people tell us, don't bring those blind kids to our party. Don't bring those blind kids to our
Now
home.
you're stepping in it, Dad. You're stepping in it right there.
We don't want others to feel uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. We actually it's this is a very, can be and has been really up until very recently, and dare I say when Chris showed up, this has been a very isolating life that we've led.
And as much as people think,
Which is
that-
actually fine with us, but you know.
as much as people think that they have a big heart and they want to be diverse and have an inclusive heart and invite all abilities into their lives, it's not a common, you can't make people be inclusive. You can't
No.
make people change
No.
their particular attitudes. And it's just,
Well,
as-
like I said earlier with David, though, we had a conversation, and the thing that concerns me is that when those attitudes begin to affect a person's
Employment.
ability
Or-
to earn a living and take care of their family and live their lives the way they choose to live on equal grounds, then we start to have a problem.
Right. Or when a ride sharing service leaves somebody at the curb because they don't want to take somebody with a disability.
And that happens
That happens a lot.
all the time.
So there's a lot of situations in life that, as much as we'd like to say we're making progress, and we are,
We are.
Karen and I have been going through this for 40 some
Well,
years.
we're 62 years old, so
We're 62. We've seen how bad it was.
Yes, I
40
mean we
years
were
ago.
when we were growing up, we were on the tail end of the worst of it.
Yeah.
And so we've seen a tremendous amount of change and progress in attitudes and laws and inclusion. But boy, do we have a long way to go still.
And there's a lot of it is generational, that people who have certain cultural mores, for example,
just
we have
ideas
looked-
that have
we
been
have
passed
looked-
down.
We have
Yeah.
looked in certain cultures, think that traditional, whether it's Asian or African, other cultures around the world traditionally have attributed disability or someone having a handicap with, whether it's a bad karma or some
Curses
kind
or some-
of
Honey,
personal background that they want to stay away from.
it's why we have our children. It's
We do
why
have them.
it's why they're here. It's why Abby was left where she was left.
Right. And why our Korean girls were left at the hospital, and why. And
Yeah.
it is. So
It's just the truth. That's
as
just
much
the
as
truth.
we would like to change each person, we can't. All we can do is be an example. We don't want to change our kids' appearance so that they'll be accepted.
Absolutely not.
That's a
Now, if my girls came to me, say all of a sudden they came to me and said, you know, Mom, I'd really like to have prosthetics. I want to look a certain way. Well, we're all in,
right.
you know, or
We
if-
would discuss it, and we would go through the pros and cons and what it would take.
sure,
and
but
all
we're
that.
not, yeah.
But they're adults now, so they can have those conversations
make their
with us
decisions.
and make their own decisions.
Exactly.
This is 2020, the year of 2020, and there's a I think a heightened awareness of vision and blindness. It's in the lexicon of today. People are thinking more about vision and the sight and how their plans are and our approach to life. And like you said the other day, 2020 was going to be way far down in the future, but now it's here. So maybe there's a way that each one of us can rise up a little bit in ourselves and try to find a way to make a more inclusive world, try to look out for other people that might be discriminated against or segmented out to a different population.
Just open our minds a little bit more.
Open our minds and be more inclusive and be more inviting. Say hello to someone you've never said hello to before.
Smile.
That you might not have approached in the past. If you see someone with an autistic child or a child with a disability or someone in a wheelchair, go up and say hello and say, I just wanted to say hi and hope you're having a great day.
Introduce yourself.
Introduce yourself. We've gotten to a point in society where we think that technology can replace certain kinds of humanity. We grew up with the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman, where technological parts were better than the normal human parts that came with us. And we're entering an area of genetics that could be even possible. But it is a scary world, because
fascinating.
When technology, when improvements in your genetics can be improved by technology, everyone who's, quote, typical will be suffering the same kind of disadvantages that people with disabilities have today. So don't think about the kind of world that it could be if you have superhumans out there that have some kind of genetic technological improvement, because anybody that would be typical would have to be like at a lower.
They would have to come up to the standard, I guess.
Come up to the standard of superhuman. The other thing too is ridiculous. That there are a lot of people in this world who don't have access to the technology, for improving their lives, even the ability. There's people that have wheelchairs that can't have an electric wheelchair or a battery powered wheelchair. Or there's people out there that can't get a cochlear implant or can't get the technology they need to assist or adapt their life to that. And so there's a big need. Why would we spend $5 million on a prosthetic leg, to let someone run a fast race when when that technology is not available to most people? Just because something that can be fixed doesn't necessarily mean it should be fixed.
Our kids are happy. Our kids are remarkably healthy. Our kids
have great self-esteem.
Most of them, we don't even have any cavities.
Right.
Our kids don't. And the dentist is always amazed. It's miraculous, really.
None of them wear glasses.
Or ever will.
Or ever will.
Unless they just want to look cool, I guess. There you go.
But their esteem is not based on how they look or how they present.
Now, we did get 3 of our kids braces.
We did.
2 of them they told us were medically necessary.
And for the health of their teeth, they should get them and should have them straightened if possible.
It's made a big difference in hygiene. Yep. It has. That's true.
With Obed and Jesse, who both could use braces.
Obed probably will have them at some point.
But Jesse won't have them.
No. Well, unless, there's a miracle in her eating. It's her eating disorder.
Yeah, because
she's got some self-injurious biting behaviors with her hand, and there's just a lot of things. When I talk to the dentist about how we can improve Jessie's appearance with her teeth, we have to weigh the importance of straight teeth versus the very strong possibility of having to have a feeding tube.
Right.
If we mess with what's in her mouth and all of a sudden she stops.
She can't eat.
Taking the Pediasure from a straw, we were very close to having to do that when she was younger, and she got the hang of the straw, and we're very thankful for that. Yeah. But, who wants to mess with that?
So bottom line, at least for us, we've chosen to be very conservative with our medical treatments and approach unless there's some case for an improvement of their life, of their, capacity. So that's where we draw the line. But being conservative in medical approaches is a good thing. At least it's the way we've chosen to do it.
Every change